Do you ever feel like what you're breathing in is bad and that your lungs are hurting? When you feel the effects right when you walk outside of your house or later in life, eventually the pollutants in our air right outside our house are going to catch up to us. According to a study done by MIT, an average of 200,000 Americans die an early death each year due to the aromatics that we cause on an everyday basis. Most of the aromatics we cause, we don't even realize we're causing it, maybe from our electricity or from our cars, but our cars are definitely one of the leading pollutants. Just by changing our cars from petroleum-based fuels to biofuels and ethanol-based fuels, we can decrease our pollutants by tremendous amounts. Now I know there's no way we're going to give up our cars altogether. That would probably be like the best option, but it's not going to happen. Everybody needs the convenience of their cars. But just changing their fuels will eventually cause a decrease that it'll make a difference, at least in our air. According to the Natural Resources Defense Council, if Americans can implement this new technology, we could profit up to $63 billion by a 20-year span. So this was actually enacted in about 2012, and they predicted that by 2020, we could have $63 billion, which would decrease almost all of our debt that we have and just be a great influence to America as a whole. I by no means consider myself a professional on this topic. I've done a lot of research, and in high school, I did a lot of stuff concerning biodiesel products and trying to figure out what could be an alternative in our internal combustion engines. So throughout high school, I researched the internal combustion engine a ton. I looked at how it worked and why we use petroleum-based products instead of other stuff to make our cars run. And through all that research, it kind of made the topic personal to me because I researched it so much and I gave presentations on it, and I even invented my own form of biofuel at one point. And through all the research, like I said, I don't consider myself an expert, but it's made the topic personal to me to the point where I've changed my major in high school to biosystems engineering, or in college, not high school, to biosystems engineering, so that I can focus my research on biofuels and just making the environment better as a whole. Today, I want to share with you some of the primary reasons and benefits of switching from petroleum-based fuels to natural gas and biofuels. First, I'm going to talk to you about what is causing Americans to not just do it, basically, that's causing them to hold back and say, no, we don't want to change to that. And then I'm going to talk to you all about what the different alternatives are, so like what we could change to if we chose to. And then I'm going to talk to you about what America would look like and how it would impact us if we were to change. The first topic I'm going to talk about, like I said, is what is causing America to hold back. And the first thing is biofuel. Though it's in the long run going to be a whole lot cheaper, initially starting all the biofuels is going to be pretty expensive. Right now we don't have as many companies as we want to start it up. We have like 120 that are just for ethanol-based fuel. And that sounds like a lot, but when it comes to everybody in America and all the fuel we use for our cars and everything, it's basically nothing. So the initial cost is going to be pretty influential as to why Americans aren't doing it right now. Another thing is it's an inconvenience. Some of the fuels that we found are, they might cause us to have to change our engines a little bit. The cost of the engines could be up to about $50 to $150, which really, like I said, isn't anything because you're going to save that much in gas by the end of it with the change in our fuels. Another thing is some of the stuff that that could be used to make these alternative fuels, such as corn and sugar, we can't grow in America. We have to grow somewhere else. And one of those main things, like sugar, which is used to make ethanol, Raymond J. Kopp did he's a PhD and an MA in economics. He actually wrote an article in Resource newspaper that talked about how Brazil makes all the sugar, and they've actually created their own ethanol-based fuels. But they have so many tariffs on it and stuff coming into America that it causes us to double the price almost, and when we could be getting it for such a cheap price. But the amount of trade lower our fuels and eventually just like work together and get a low fuel cost. Now I'm going to talk about the different alternatives and the possibilities you can use. The first one is biofuels. Biofuels are what we're going to use as an alternative for diesel engines. Unlike the internal combustion engine, diesel engines just compress a fuel really tight until eventually it explodes and causes a reaction that runs the engine. So there's a lot more alternatives that can be created as far as diesel engines. And they have very little to no aromatics. When I was in high school, that was what I created. I invented my own biodiesel, and I used vegetable oil, hydroxide, and methanol. And it took me like an hour to just combine them all together and get everything going. But by the end of it, I had my own biodiesel product that would run any diesel engine, and it cost me like close to nothing. And I think it was a total of 50 cents for the amount of vegetable oil I used. And it was nothing. And I had a truck at the time that was my friend's truck, and I ran it in there, and it had very little aromatics. It smelled like French fries, which I'm usually going to complain if the car smells like French fries. But it didn't create any nearly as harmful aromatics as what you're going to produce in your cars with your petroleum-based products that we have today. Typically, it's made from yellow oils, vegetable oils, or soybean oils. There was a lot of research that Raymond did that involved the soybeans that actually lowered the cost of the biofuels to way less than what petroleum is. But again, we don't have anywhere to grow it, and it causes it to cost way more. The next thing I'm going to talk to you about is ethanol. Ethanol can run in internal combustion engines with a few modifications. Like I said, they're about $50 to $150, but in the end, you end up saving so much money that $50 to $150 is nothing. But if you walk up to your average American family and say, hey, if you will invest $150 to $50 on your engine, you can, they're not going to do it. They're going to be like, no, we'll just stick with what we have. But they also have little to no aromatics, and they're made from sugar and corn. And corn would be awesome because we can grow it in America, but we don't have enough agricultural land today in order to grow it. So it would also include some startup fees that would, take some money out of Americans' pockets. A lot of research has been done on blending these fuels. So there's been like 85% ethanol fuels and 25% ethanol fuels, where they just put the ethanol into the petroleum base. So you get better gas mileage, but you can still run it in your engine without having to change it. And so far, that's about the farthest advancement we've got towards in putting ethanol and biofuels into our everyday lives. Finally, I'm going to talk about what it will mean for America if biofuels are instated. Like I said, about 200,000 people die early deaths each year. So we can reduce that risk. And then it actually says that aromatics just from cars cause 1 to 2 years to be taken off of your life. So you'll get longer lifespans in the long run. It'll cause an insane amount of revenue for America. It'll create new jobs. It will, you have huge energy incentives that will bring in billions of dollars for Americans, and your gas bills are going to be way lower. You can save up to $5,000 a year if you are to change to lower fuels. It means driving more efficiently and using better gas. And in conclusion, I've shared with you